3 different occasions, the officers asked the males politely to leave the location because they were being asked to leave by employees because they were trespassing. Instead, the males continued to refuse, as they had told the employees previously, and they told the officers that they were not leaving. When the call was initially made, the Starbucks employees had told the males that they were going to call police, and they said, go ahead and call police, we don't care. So police get there and they're confronted by the same type of attitude and repeatedly are told that they're not leaving. In fact, there's some alleged rhetoric about you don't know what you're doing, you're only a $45,000 a year employee. In short, these officers did absolutely nothing wrong. They followed policy, they did what they were supposed to do, they were professional in all their dealings with these gentlemen, and instead they got the opposite back. I will say that as an African-American male, I am very aware of implicit bias. We are committed to fair and unbiased policing, and anything less than that will not be tolerated in this department.
Black men plus the police does not always equal a case of racism. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we're going to talk about this very hot story that's all over the internets, all over television. It's everywhere, and that is of the 2 black men that were escorted out of a Starbucks in Philadelphia by the police. You saw the video I played before I started talking, in which the police commissioner of Philadelphia, Richard Ross, was speaking about the whole situation, saying that officers did nothing wrong. Before I even get into all of the details, all of what happened, all of the witness statements, all of the social media reactions, what I'm going to do right now is play this clip. And in the clip, you're going to see, I guess this is the end result of the whole situation. It did not start right here. It started much earlier than this, but this part is why everybody is so incensed about it. So after we get done with that, I'll talk about that video specifically and all the aforementioned things, and then I put it on up and put a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
What did they get called for? Because there are 2 black guys sitting here meeting me? Yes, well, what did they do? What did they do? Did someone tell me what they did?
They didn't do anything. I saw the entire thing.
They didn't. What did they do?
Nothing. And the woman says for paying customers after they didn't do anything.
Okay, so you see that. Now you see the end result of what was going on, but we got to get back to the beginning. We got to take it on back and figure out, how did we get here? Why is this happening? What's really going on? Now, as you saw in the clip, you had 2 black men. They're in the Starbucks. They're escorted out. They had been in there for quite a while. I'm not really sure how long. If you know how long they were in there before the situation happened, please let me know in the comments below. But they were in there for a while, and they had not bought anything. They were asked by the employees to basically buy something or leave. They refused to do so. They said they're waiting on somebody to get there for a meeting or something like that. I've heard that they are real estate brokers. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So they're refusing to leave. I guess it escalated from an employee level to a managerial level because the police commissioner had a fuller statement, which I will put in the box below straight from their Facebook page. In the statement, he said that there were some allegations of them saying, oh, you only make $45,000 a year as a Starbucks employee. So I assume it went from the employee level to manager level. They refused to leave each time they're asked. And I suppose they're also refusing to buy anything because the reason they were asked to leave was because they were loitering. That's why the police were called. And that's what the allegation was. These 2 men are loitering in our place. They're not patronizing it. They're just hanging around. They refuse to leave. So that's why the police get called. They don't want to buy anything and they don't want to leave. The police get there. It's some of the same thing that's going on. They don't want to respond to the police. They're talking to the police the same way they were talking to the Starbucks employees. So it gets to the point where the handcuffs are brought out and they're escorted out. Now, thank goodness nobody was hurt in the situation. They were able to get up and leave. When some handcuffs came out, it's like, okay, we know it's serious now. We know we got to go to jail. Once they get to the booking place, the precinct or whatever, Starbucks says, okay, we don't want to press any charges. I think the main purpose of calling the police was just to get them out of the establishment. It wasn't even about trying to, impose criminal action on them. It was just to remove them from the place like they had asked. Now, people are saying this is a racist thing. They're saying it must be racism. You got 2 black men in the Starbucks. They didn't do nothing. They were just sitting there. But here's the thing. If you are in an establishment, they have the right to ask you to leave for any reason. It's their establishment. It's just like somebody's house. If you're in somebody's house, like let's say, for example, you're invited to somebody's house. For any reason, after you come into the door, they can ask you to leave. And if you don't, now you're in violation. Now you're trespassing. Maybe it's raining outside. Maybe your ride's not there. Maybe they could be nice and let you stay. But at the end of the day, it's their house, their rules. Same thing with a business. It's their business. It's their rules. You can't dictate to a place what their rules should and should not be. And it's really just that simple. To say it's racist doesn't make any sense, because I'm sure there's time where people that are not black have been told to leave an establishment. If you're hanging around Walmart too long, if you're hanging around McDonald's too long, and don't even go to New York. This was in Philadelphia. It's a big city, but don't even go to New York. Let's say you're driving on the road. If you stop somewhere for too long, for like 10 minutes or more, you might get a ticket for that. You can't just hang around. There's certain rules in certain places. You can't just do whatever you want to do. You can get charged for loitering and or trespassing. In this case, they were in the place loitering, because loitering means to hang around the place, not buy anything, and just basically be a bump on the log in the establishment. You're loitering. Trespassing is when you are on private property without permission from the person who owns the property. Okay. If you go into a place of business, you have permission to be there as long as you are there for the purpose of patronizing the place. If you're there for hours, not doing anything, not buying anything, now you're trespassing if they tell you to leave and you don't. That's when it becomes something else. And like I said, people are saying this is racist. There must be racism here, but where's the evidence of this? People from all walks of life get kicked out of establishments for not buying something, for being unruly. I remember back in the day when I used to service clubs, when I was the club flyer guy, I would be in clubs. I would see white guys get tossed out on their head. The most funny thing I ever seen in my life was when this guy was drunk in his club called Bar Norfolk back in the day. I was young. I might have been in there just clubbing when I was, real young. I saw this white dude get carried out like a battering ram by 2 guys and dumped out like he was garbage on the ground. That happens. Why? They told him to leave. He doesn't want to leave. So what are they going to do? They're going to toss you out. Especially if you drunk and stuff like that. They're not really trying to fight you. They don't really want to beat you down. They're just going to throw you out. Once you get into that battering ram position and you have no control over your limbs and your body, at that point, okay, I messed up. I need to go ahead and get up out of here. And that's what happens. You get thrown out. That has nothing to do with race. Has nothing to do with gender. Nothing to do with class or anything like that. Once you're told to leave, you got to leave. And it's just that simple. Now, the reactions on social media have been hilarious. There's a hashtag about this, hashtag waiting while black. People out there protesting the Starbucks. I saw this picture. I put it on the screen before you. They're trying to compare Martin Luther King to these so-called real estate brokers, which is hilarious. And by the way, real estate broker, if you're a real estate broker, where's your office at, homie? You should have an office where you go for meetings, okay? It doesn't matter if you're meeting a friend just to hang out or whatever. You have an office you pay for. Why not meet right there? Why must you meet in this particular Starbucks? And if you're a real estate broker and you want to talk about somebody making $45,000 and downplaying their salary, then you must have money, right? You can buy a $5 coffee. You can buy a banana. You can buy a cookie or something. Go there and buy something. Don't just be a bump on the log. You are told to buy something to leave. Just comply. Why must there be such a rebellious attitude for those mainly on the left towards authority? For what reason? What is the point? It doesn't make any sense. And my next point about that picture you saw of Martin Luther King and comparing it to these guys, why must you go to a place and be there when you're not wanted? It doesn't matter what the reason is, whether it's because you happen to be black, which is not obvious from this case. There's no evidence of that. The only evidence we have is that they were not buying anything. They were loitering and they were asked to leave because they were loitering. But let's just say, for argument's sake, it's because they were black. Okay, Must you go there to that place? There's other places to go to. Why must you go there? Are you going to burden them with your presence when you're not wanted? Why don't you go somewhere else where they actually want you? Go to a different establishment where they want you to be and not pay any money. Okay. Or better yet, go somewhere else, a black establishment or what have you, if you want to be Black Lives Matter, and patronize that. Now, Starbucks did apologize for this, but it didn't do anything wrong. You have laws that are in place for a reason. What if everybody came into Starbucks and nobody bought anything? You got all these butts in these seats and nobody's buying anything. How are you going to be able to make money? At a certain point, it's not that big in Starbucks. I've been in there before. It's not like this gigantic place where you got millions of seats. There's limited seating. So if you're in there not buying anything and patronizing the place, what are you doing? And beyond that, as I close, I want to say this. I think the reason why they may enforce the loitering thing more strictly in some places than others is because of the crime that happens. There's a lot of laptop theft, cell phone theft. What happens is it'd be a bunch of young black guys in there hanging around, not buying anything, and they'll wait for somebody to get caught slipping, basically, turn their eyes away from their table, get up and use the bathroom. They'll be hanging around. They'll see that opening when the person is not paying attention, and then they'll swipe their laptop and run out the door. Swiping laptops, swiping cell phones, wallets, or whatever. That is a common occurrence. And these guys are in there. They're not trying to buy anything. You pretty much see what's going on. So the whole thing about loitering may be a way to deter away from that. Even if that was why they were removed, it doesn't matter. All you got to do to solve that is to buy something. Spend $5. It's not really that difficult to do. They were just trying to be rebellious for rebellion's sake. And it does not make any sense. If it were me and I were asked to buy something to leave, I would just buy something or I'd leave. Why must I wait till the police get there? And then now I got to get carried out or I got to get escorted out. I got to go to jail and all this and that. It does not make any sense. So was there racism here? I don't see any evidence of that. I don't see any hardcore proof to say that's what's going on. The police commissioner said that the police didn't do anything wrong. Don't come after them. Look, if you are asked to leave a place, you got to leave. It doesn't matter if it's racism. That's irrelevant. That's aside from the point. It doesn't matter what the reason is. You were asked to leave. This is not your establishment. This is not your house. This is not your anything. It does not belong to you. This is private property. You cannot just do whatever you want on someone's private property. And it's really just that simple. So what do you think? Do you think that the police were in the wrong here? Do you think whoever called the police in Starbucks were in the wrong here? If you think that way, please explain to me why. Do you have any evidence that it was racism? Do you have any evidence that this was a thing that would not have been done if it was a white person that were involved? I've seen that a lot all over social media, all over the internets, in comment sections of articles, Facebook pages, or whatever. People are saying, oh, well, the person were white, it wouldn't have happened. How did you know that? How do you know? Where's the evidence that indicates that? You don't know. It could have been a person that was white that was kicked out earlier in the day, but nobody thought it was a civil rights issue. If it was a white male to get kicked out, nobody's going to care about that. Matter of fact, the person probably wouldn't have gotten kicked out. Why? Because when they were asked to either buy something or leave, they probably bought something or left rather than trying to challenge the authority and getting the police involved unnecessarily. But do you think I'm right about the situation? Do you think they should have just bought something or left when they were asked to do so rather than trying to be rebellious, rather than trying to fight the authority? What is a better option? Following the rules or not following the rules? You tell me. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.